More weird facts and statistics. Dogs do cause fatal injuries. Humans died, 46 humans died in 2022. However, that doesn't mean to say you have to be afraid of dogs. Of the hundreds of millions of dogs that there are, 13 of that 46 were by all the other dogs. Of the 46, 33 of them, over 70%, were by pit bulls. Do be careful of pit bulls. That's fact one. Good. Next one. The Oxford English Dictionary gets bigger and bigger. It's the biggest dictionary in the world. There are more words in English by far than any other language. The Oxford English Dictionary adds 1 word per hour. That's lots. Next. The average American woman spends $15,000 US on makeup during her lifetime. So it's spread out, it's not all in one go. Of that, quite a lot of it is spent on lipstick. Where does our lipstick go? It doesn't seem to come off anywhere. Yes, the lady swallows it. All the fish scales, the chemicals, and all. Most lipstick gets swallowed. Nice. Next. These facts are all from Jordan Moore and his book, Curious Minds. Good book, me like. So, carrying on, the TV financial wizard of the moment, the guy everybody thought could make them loads of money, Mr. Jim Cramer, in 2000 said there were 10 stocks, parts of companies, that everybody should own. By 2009, 9 years later, they were all worthless or worth very much less. Financial advisors, they often don't know what they're talking about. Or they're guessing, or everyone's saying the same thing, and if they're all saying the same thing, the stocks aren't worth buying because they're overpriced. Good. Next. In September 2001, the date, month known as 9/11, more people died of cigarettes than died due to terrorist aeroplanes crashing into buildings in the middle of New York. However, the cigarettes deaths didn't get any headlines. Nobody seemed to care. If there's lots and lots of things going on, then it stops being news. It's old. Something different, new, more. That's all gets in the news. The things that are in the news are usually not things that apply to you. They're anecdotes. They're new. The things that apply to you are things like don't smoke, get some exercise, don't be overweight. Those are the things that matter when it comes to how long you're going to live. And me. Next, the difficulty of counting in statistics. Counting. How can counting be difficult? Well, if you've got a sheep, you have one sheep. If you have a pregnant sheep, does that count as 1, 2, or 1.5? What about a sheep, a lamb, and a pregnant sheep? How many is this? Does the lamb count as a half? Does the fetus inside the sheep count as a quarter? Counting is not as obvious as you might think. So when you do statistics, the first thing you do is say what you're counting. Even when you're counting sheep, you have to define what a sheep is. Counting again, nurses. So if you're counting how many nurses there are in the National Health Service, the NHS, good website. If you're counting nurses, what about a part-time nurse? Does she count as a half or 2/3, depending on how many hours she does? Or do you just count everybody as a 1? How you count is very important to what statistics you end up with and what they mean. The American Health Service gets a very bad name for itself from its statistics. 6.1 deaths per 1,000 births. That's terrible compared to Finland, where it's 2.3 deaths per 1,000 births. For most countries, it's around 2 or 3 deaths per 1,000. In the USA, 6.1. But you have to dig deeper to find out why. It's easy to come to the conclusion that America is not the place to have a baby. However, it's because America count miscarriages before 24 weeks as live births that then died. So America counts miscarriages as deaths, and the rest of the world does not. Got to know what they're counting. Next, what percentage of people have diabetes? It's a really good idea to ask your audience what they think the percentages are. People tend to overreact, particularly if it's been in the news or if they're aware of it. Diabetes? Ask people. Most people would think it's about 34-35% of the population have diabetes. The real answer is 8%. Much, much less. Another one. If a bat and a ball cost $1.10 and the bat costs $1 more than the ball, how much is the bat? How much is the ball? Most people get this wrong. Most people will say the ball is 10 cents and the bat is $1 more than this. But this doesn't work. Oh. And my last one from the Tim Hartford book is that the Royal Society in England, one of the oldest scientific societies, their motto is my favourite definition of science. Nullius in verba. Maybe the pronunciation is a little bit wobbly there. It means take nothing and nobody's word for it. Take nobody's word for it. Find out about science. Check your statistics and your science by looking at sites and periodicals that are against and for this. People that say it's not true, people that say it is true, and then decide which one you're with and which one has 90% of the people with it. Do 90% of the people say yes? 90% of people say no? Usually go with the 90%ers. Sometimes it's 60-40. These particular facts are brought to you by Tim Harford's great book called How to Make the World Add Up. He noticed that if you look up, and still, even now, I just tried it in Google, how many rich people own as much money as the poorest half of the world, you get lots of different numbers. In 2017, Oxfam, the Oxford Famine Relief charity, said it was 8. The 8 richest people owned as much money as the poorest half. The Guardian newspaper, 2014, said it was 85. You get lots of erroneous numbers because it's difficult to calculate wealth. Because the very richest people, they don't like paying tax, and so therefore they move their money around in such a way so it seems like they don't own anything or that they're in debt. Mr. Trump did that a lot, so that he didn't have to pay tax every second year. So therefore, how rich are the rich people? Is it what they own? Is it their cash? It's impossible to tell until we've got a clear definition of what money is and what possessions are. Otherwise, it's just made up stuff. Next one I wanted to do is that we dismiss facts that contradict our own ideas. Anything that I say that you don't like, chances are you're just going to go, I don't believe it, rather than Google it. And when you Google it, you'll find people saying yes to a bad fact and no to a bad fact. Very difficult to know where on the internet to get your correct facts from. Mostly, you're better off if there aren't any banner ads. People will say anything on the internet to get you to look at their website because they get paid per second of you looking at their website. So therefore, anything you look up will have people saying yes and people saying no, both making money. Sometimes it's the same person, both making money from you looking at their websites. I always believe the websites like the National Health Service, the NHS website, because it doesn't have any adverts in it. No banner ads, no reason to lie for me. Good, right, that's me done.